Hello and welcome to another episode of The Assist Lounge, an official show of the Nutmeg Assist. I'm your host, the Metaphor Guy, and today on our show we have a special guest from Malaysia, Sivan John. Sivan is a writer for various football blogs, including the likes of Mundo Albiceleste and These Footy Times. And Sivan is a Huddersfield fan as well. So welcome to the show, Sivan.
Hello everyone, welcome to another Nutmeg Assist video, and my name is Sivan John. I'm from Malaysia, and I'm here to talk about my club Huddersfield Town after what has been a spectacular season in our first top flight football in nearly 45 years.
It's been a great season for Huddersfield because you ensured your safety, and the big news that's come in the last week was David Wagner signing a new contract. So what do you feel about that, Sivan?
Well, I feel that's something that needs to be done. It should have been done a long time ago, and I think it's all right that it's just about to take place. Well, definitely, I'm all 100% agree with the management to extend David Wagner's contract. I mean, what he could do wrong in the first place? I mean, the fact that he has come, he's changed the club, he has given the club some identity, and brought us this far in our history. So I wouldn't have anything to say against that. Definitely, it's a thumbs up for me to extend his contract, and also his assistant Christopher Buller as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a great move, but if you look at the general outcome of this past season, you could see all the three promoted teams staying up. So you could see Rafa Benitez keeping Newcastle up, Chris Hughton doing a wonderful job with Brighton as well, and David Wagner, like I mentioned, he's done a tremendous job with Huddersfield. He got some very good results on the way as well. He beat Manchester United. I guess you beat Manchester United 1-0 at home, right? Yep.
It was a 2-1 win back in October.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yep, 2-1 win. Yep, 2-1 win, and then you held Chelsea to a draw. Yep, you had some nice runs out there, but to be honest, you didn't have the most perfect squad to be if to play in the Premier League, to adapt to the Premier League. But David Wagner has done a terrific job with the club, so giving him a new extension, a contract extension, that's the right way to go as well, according to me. And like you said, it's a great move, and I'd like to go to the next question to you. How do you see the future of Huddersfield as a football club under David Wagner? I mean, the whole structure of the football club, because being in the Premier League, staying in the Premier League, that ensures a lot of financial backup as well. So you get a lot of money for staying in the Premier League, for surviving another season. So how does that impact the whole club?
Obviously, it's going to impact in many positive ways, because you have to remember, when David Wagner first took over the club in his first full season in 2016, we were deemed to go down back to League One. So even in the championship itself, we were like a small fish in a big pond. And here we are talking about the English Premier League.
Yes,
we are even still a very much smaller fish in a very large, huge pond. And nevertheless, this is the best thing about us, because in an era where football is being run by the idea that you need to spend big in order to achieve big things, we've done it in the most modest way. We've done it in a way where it reminds us how football used to be. It's about spending within your means, getting the best out of what you have within your resources, and not just going to the idea that we need to get these big names, these big signings in order to help the club. It's all about utilizing your network. In David Wagner's case, he utilizes his network in Germany and other parts of Europe, try to get all these fringe talents that people don't really necessarily hear them a lot, but they bring added value to the squad, give the squad what it needs in order to survive in the Premier League. Of course, what you say, we don't have the most attractive squad. That's something I have to agree with everybody. But what we have is a group of players that is dedicated, that will leave everything on the field when it matters. In our last 3 games, we had to play against Man City, Chelsea, and Arsenal.
Yes.
We needed to at least get 2 points out of the 3 games, and no one gave us any chance. Especially the fact that we were going to Etihad to play against City, where a lot of teams, when they go there, they practically get slaughtered. We still came back to the point, and we did that against Chelsea. So this is the best thing about what David Wagner is for us, and I can assure you that the future with him is going to be extremely bright.
Yep. That the game at Etihad, that was extremely a wonderful performance as well. Keeping City at bay is no ordinary task, especially this season. The way how they've been rampant at home, and to keep them at bay, getting a point at the Etihad, that is an incredible achievement as well. So, and if you look at David Wagner's character as a whole, you could see he cheers the players on. He's more of a Jurgen Klopp type manager, and you could definitely deduce that out because they obviously work together. They have kind of similar character. You could see that David Wagner, kind of spreading out his passion, his ideology, his cheerfulness to the players as a unit as well. So I think it's an incredible manager. So I'd like to pose this question to you, Sivan. If you could describe David Wagner's character and how that fits Huddersfield as a club, for the club, to be honest, what do you basically think? Let me make this simple. What do you basically think about David Wagner's character and how that affects Huddersfield? How that motivates the team, the players?
Well, yeah, as you had mentioned, his character is very similar to Klopp, and because they have worked together for so long and they're best friends. In fact, there was an interview in which David Wagner himself said that he knows Klopp better than Klopp's wife herself.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, as what you mentioned, in terms of his character, yes, it's true that he's one of the best man management guys out there. He really knows how to take care of his players. He really knows how to motivate them. And you can see how in that win against Watford, that last minute win when Tom Ince scored the goal, he actually joined the players and celebrated them. He almost makes himself feel like he's part of the team and makes the players feel like he's one of them. That's a very rare thing happens these days in football. You get coaches who just sit on the sideline, they just protect their hierarchy, that I'm the boss, I'm the gaffer. But here we have a very different character. He always seems like he's trying to make the players feel like that he's one of them, and he understands what they are going through. Even when everybody can be so critical of the team, he's always stick out to them, because he believes in them. He shows that sort of faith in them that allows these players to go on the field and get the job done. And that's one of the best thing about him. And how does he fit in terms of our club? Because you have to remember, for many years we have always been a club that is very British oriented. We only brought in British managers. Here we have a guy who came, it was totally out of the box. It was a calculated risk that we have no idea what to expect out of him. And it changed the club dramatically. It gave the club a new face. It basically rebranded the whole club. If you look at Huddersfield Town Football Club in the Premier League, everybody's praising our fans. Our fans, they bring that sort of Bundesliga atmosphere. And all this because of his presence in the team. It works hand in hand. And that's the best thing about having him as our head coach.
Yeah, and I think there are three members from the Huddersfield team who's made it to the World Cup. Jonas Losel, Aaron Moy, and I guess one more guy. Who's that? Zanka. Jurgensen, right?
Yes, correct.
Yep, and that's pretty nice to see as well, because if you look at the size of your club, for the size of the club, by that I just mean the way you performed in the last decade or so, the way the clubs have been run, the struggles the clubs had to face. If you take all those things into account and see the team and see the players who's made it to the World Cup, it's obviously a nice thing to see. 3 players making the World Cup squads of their nations. I think that's a pretty good achievement as well. So, what do you specifically think of this crop of players that you have at the squad right now? And especially speaking, it's the transfer window, and yes, you already signed Ben Hammond from Leicester City. He's a goalkeeper. So what do you think about this summer transfer window, and which are the areas do you think Huddersfield should improve on?
Well, first thing of course, signing Ben Hammond was a much needed signing in order to give some competition in our goalkeeping department. Nothing against Jonas Losel. I think he has done a tremendous job, but he's on loan, so we're not too sure yet whether or not loan will be extended or will we sign him permanently yet. So there's a question mark there. So getting a goalkeeper quality of Ben Hammond was necessary, and I think I will be seeing maybe another one more signing being made in that position, because we need to have at least a backup. I mean, it's either Losel continues to stay, or we're going to bring in somebody and they're going to fight off for the number one spot. That's how I look at it at the moment. Of course, we have also been linked with two Stoke City players, Ramadan Sobi and Zerdan Shaqiri. So that it tells you that, you know, where the club, how far the club has come. In the past, you know, there was no chance at all for a club of Huddersfield Town side to be linked with such players. But now here we are being talked that these two players are going to come over. Sobi, I think I don't know, it's still not finalized yet, but I believe, you know, based on what the news is going around, it's more or less 95% done. Maybe we might hear something about it today. Takeri, well, I don't know whether he's the type of player that we really need in our club in terms of his character and attitude, but this is something that David Wagner wants, and I'm all for it, because if he says something in a player, this is something I have to believe in him. Where else do I see? I definitely seeing that we might need to get another central midfielder in order to give some creativity spark in the middle that was a little bit lacking last season, because we depended quite a lot on Tom Ince, who's more of a winger type of player rather than a central midfielder.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe another couple of more defenders, because we definitely need some quality signing to back up Christopher Schindler and Jorgensen, because in case one of them gets injured, then we might have trouble there. So I'm looking at that position as well. Well, in terms of strikers, we have Steve Mooney, who I believe has done a good job. Laurent Depotois has also been fantastic for us. I'm not too sure whether are we going to get another one more signing in that department, but we'll see.
Okay, fair enough. And speaking about Ramadan Sobi, he's the name that's been highly linked with Huddersfield in the past 2 days. I think it's close to being completed, the deal for Ramadan Sobi. And if you look at how Ramadan plays, he's definitely young and raw, but he definitely fits the bill. He has loads of potential. If you've seen glimpses of Ramadan's skills and the way he plays, you could derive a lot of positives from his style of play as well. So he's a player with a lot of potential in him. So if Huddersfield managed to sign Ramadan, I guess Wagner can improve him a lot as well. So it's a good signing if you go for Ramadan Sobi. And talking about Sheridan Shaqiri, that might just look less likely, because I think Shaqiri was quoting at the end of last season about how he needs to play in a team with better quality. So the attitude isn't just right, and I don't think David Wagner would compromise with players having not so good attitudes. So that might be a possibility as well, right?
Yes, definitely. You know, if that's one thing that if you are a footballer, if you come to a club like Huddersfield Town, you got to remember that you can't think of yourself that you are the player. You need to remember that you're one of the players, and that's the sort of mentality that we have in our dressing room. You look at it. If you look at our squad as a whole, you don't have really that outstanding individuals that really spark, that really outshines among the rest. It's all on the same level playing field with everybody, whether it's Aaron Moy, whether it's Jonathan Hogg, whether it's Steve Mooney, whether it's Schindler, whether it's Loso. they're all on the same level playing field. And I think Wagner wants those sort of character, the kind of player that comes in and say, I want to be part of the team, not I want here to make a name for myself. So if Shaqiri, if it's true that what he has been saying, that he wants to, be with a better team or, those kind of things, then clearly I am not that keen to have him in Huddersfield. Provided if David Wagner feels that he can bring the best out of him and he's confident in that, then yes, by all means, go ahead.
Okay, fair enough. So, let me pose this question to you, Sivan. You had one season in the Premier League. Out of 10, if you had to rate Huddersfield's season out of 10, how much would you give? How much would you rate Huddersfield out of 10? Based on this past season, yep.
Okay. Well, considering our resources, the budget that we have, the size of our squad, and everything put together, and circumstances that we have been put into, I would definitely say it's 9 out of 10.
Okay.
I know people might think it's funny. How can you say 9 out of 10 when you only survive, the Premier League? That's the way I think people don't understand. As I mentioned earlier, we came to the Premier League as probably one of the smallest fish in a huge pond. And yet, when you think of clubs that fell in, like Stoke City, Southampton, Swansea, West Brom, they have a huge budget, bigger than us. They have a much more bigger capacity than us. And yet, they couldn't get a decent result, a decent run in order to survive in the Premier League. We defy the odds from day one. Even before we kicked off against Crystal Palace, everyone said Huddersfield Town will finish bottom of the league and will go down. It's understood. I'm not really angry or mad against those predictions because if one looks at us, when you look at the little guy competing in the heavyweight boxing, there's no chance. Nobody's going to give him a chance.
Definitely, it's more like a David. It's more like a David versus Goliath kind of.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because we were one Goliath competing against 19 Davids in the league. So obviously, and to overcome all of these in a manner in which, as I mentioned, our last 3 games against the 3 of the top 6 clubs in England, I would definitely give 9 out of 10 for sure.
Okay, fair enough. Because when the teams usually are promoted, when actually a new season starts in the Premier League, the bookies actually predict the 3 promoted teams to be favourites for relegation at the start of the season. But if you look at Huddersfield, they had a good start to the season last time out, but somewhere in the middle they lost their plot. Players' form started to drop down. The results started to go out of their way. So there were quite a few problems with Huddersfield, and people were all like, "Yep, I definitely think Huddersfield would be one to go down along with Swansea and probably West Brom." So, and suddenly during the latter stages of the season, Huddersfield rapidly improved. I think that confidence. I'd like to ask this question to you before winding up the show. Huddersfield definitely were in a bad patch in the middle stages, the intermediate stages of the season, but towards the end, they kind of found some kind of confidence. The players were putting wonderful efforts. You saw Jonas Lossell producing some wonderful saves as well. So, what do you think is the key factor behind the confidence they managed to build towards the end of last season? Because if not for that, I definitely think that Huddersfield would have been relegated, but they kind of pushed it through. So what do you think is the key factor behind that?
Well, there's no denying at some point of the season we were facing relegation. We were looking at relegation right in the face of it because I think the first signing was the first sighting, I guess, was somewhere in November, whereby we went through a bad spell, and then I think people were starting to question whether the squad has what it takes to compete in the Premier League because it looks very tired, looks very worn out because of the high pressing game that David Wagner has emphasized on this team from day one. And then I think we had another bad run in March, which also contributed to the fact that I think there was one occasion where we dropped into the bottom 3 for the first time of the
Yes.
season.
Yes.
And after a few good results, we managed to recover from that. The factor to this, I would say, is probably, or now I want to say it's probably, it's definitely Wagner's faith in him, as I mentioned. It's the belief that he put into his players. Quite often, if you look at how he responds, especially in press conference, he's very calm, he's very stable, he's very, being himself. He doesn't look like someone who cracks under pressure. He takes things on a light note. He looks at things on the brighter side of whatever the outcome is. And I think that's what's the key factor, because when you are a coach and you project yourself as someone who is calm and confident, the players will respond to you. The players also will kind of feel that they take something out of it. It rubs over them, and I think that was the factor that really helped the players to suddenly regain back what was missing from the start of the season, that saw them come to life towards the end and made the impossible that was possible, which is survive in the Premier League.
Okay, fair enough. So it's time to wind up the show. But before we wind it, I'd like to ask you one final question as well. So, what are your expectations for the upcoming season? As a Huddersfield fan, what do you expect from your team next season?
Well, I'm always modest when it comes to my expectation with Huddersfield Town. And when last season people asked me, I said as long as we finish in 17th position with 40 points, I'm happy, because that's all we needed to survive in the Premier League. Instead, we finished at 16th place with 37 points. Remarkably, we did one step better than what I expected. So I'm going to look at it. If we can crack the top 15, I think that will be amazing. I'm not sure where we will finish, but as long as we can, get into that top 15 position somewhere in the league, that I'll be more than happy enough. But of course, again, the most important thing is let's survive for another year in the Premier League.
Okay, great. And also, I like to ask you one final question as well before we wind up. You were in our last one of our last podcasts on the Argentina podcast for Tactics FC. So you mentioned there that you were a Huddersfield fan. People asked us, you were from Malaysia. How did you actually become a Huddersfield fan? How did you actually be a Terrier?
Okay. Well, it all started in 2011 when I went to visit my uncle who lives in Huddersfield. Of course, the intention was to go and watch Premier League football. But knowing that the tickets for Premier League football games sometimes can be very difficult to obtain, and he said, well, why not let's go and watch Huddersfield Town? So
Okay.
I just said to him, okay, why not? Because after all, when you are in England and you're a football fan and you don't go and watch a football game, that'll be like a waste of time.
Yeah,
So I
definitely.
said, okay, fine, so be it with Huddersfield. I have no idea about, of course I knew Huddersfield Town Football Club's existence. I knew about them, but I didn't know what position they were in the league at that time, what was the club's circumstances back then, nothing. I had no idea about it because I didn't do much research on it. All I did was go and watch the game. It was a beautiful day. We beat Wickham Wanderers 3-1, and on the way back from England back to Malaysia in the flight, I was thinking to myself, I never really had a football club to support. All my life, I've always been an Argentina fan. That's about it. When it comes to club football, I'm always like, that's okay. Liverpool is great, Barcelona is great. Whatever club, whatever game there is, I'll tend to pick one side and enjoy and watch the game. But that moment, I realized that if I could really pick a club, why not Huddersfield Town Football Club? They have a unique history behind them. It's something that a lot of people don't know, and I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot of things that I can able to teach people about football. I can able to express people about football in a way that I could not do with a mainstream big club. So that was it, and I've never looked back since then. And of course, if somebody told me back then that you know that in few years to come your club is going to be in the Premier League, I would probably shot the guy on the spot.
that definitely, that's a love at first sight. A great story. Yep. So thank you, Sivan, for being on the show. Again, we look forward to meeting you on our podcast or any of our other shows soon enough. So it's been nice talking to you once again. So
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you, Sivan. So thank you everyone, thank you listeners for listening to this. So thank you for watching, guys. Thank you.